Cause
I think it was like $6 or $7.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, and it's pretty nice and it works
First time I've
well.
seen. Is 67 number 67 Sean Ryan?
Couldn't tell you.
I don't remember numbers.
Hold on.
All right, Jake, whenever you're ready.
It's Jake Hansen. You can go.
Quay Walker made just a
Oh,
great.
Jake Hansen.
Sorry, we're live.
All right, Jake, go ahead.
All right, welcome back to another Wisco Fanatic official Packers episode with Simon and Bryant, our Packer experts. I'm just going to call on that on live because I'm being nice. I don't really.
That was very generous of
Yeah,
you.
it is very generous.
Just kidding.
I feel honored. Really.
I love you guys. Thank you for joining us. Seriously. Did you guys watch the pregame show when the Hall of Fame game getting rained out yesterday?
I did not. No.
You did not, Simon. Did you watch the pregame show?
You say the pregame show? I watched part of it. Did
you hear what Rodney Harrison said?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I did.
Oh, dude, I loved it. He first of all, he was gassing up Kenny Clark. Said that he played as good as Aaron Donald at defensive tackle. That's pretty.
Yeah, that was high praise.
High praise for the guy that's known as the best player in football. He said that the Packers really built a really nice defense. He said they've been the talk because they lost Devontae Adams, but they really built a nice defense, and he thinks that we're really going to dominate on that side of the ball. Oh, my mic is going in. Okay. I will fix that. So we have a spot available for
Try again.
Yes, no.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, there we
Now
go.
you can hear me? Is it
I
better?
think we're good
Yes,
now.
no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems better.
Okay. So we have a spot available in our fantasy football league, and it's come down to you two guys. So to figure that out, we thought of an idea. Me and Tyler did at 4:00.
Oh boy.
Pop quiz hot shot, baby.
No,
You guys ready for this?
yeah.
Pop quiz hot
All
shot.
right. So the first
I love
question.
Speed. That's such a good movie.
All right. Who is the Packers' leading wide receiver in yards in 2012?
2012.
Yes.
Boy.
I know the
What's
stats
it,
because I
Randall
have the
Cobb?
stats right here.
Randall Cobb.
What do you say, Simon?
I said Randall Cobb.
Okay, you both got that one correct. Let me mark that down. Check my book here. Okay. Who has the most sacks in Packers history?
Oh no.
Clay Matthews?
What do you say, Simon?
Clay Matthews?
Simon had it right.
Oh, I mean, Ryan, who do you say?
Yeah, I would have said Clay Matthews as well, but if we're going on time, he beat me to it.
No.
No,
I'm
we're
Jake.
going on total correct
Give both a chance
answers
to
here.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I need you guys to give me 3 of the top 6 rushers in Packers history.
Oh, boy.
Aaron Jones, Jim Taylor, Almon Green.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is 5.
Man. That's a tough one. Outside of those, I would have said Amon Green easily. I would have also said Jim Taylor, but I'll be honest, I'm trying to think of long-standing ones. I can't remember his fucking name off the top of my head.
The one that
Damn.
died this last year. I can't remember his name either.
No, I was thinking of the other one that played during the 90s. He played with Majkowski and damn. And he wore 25.
I know who you're thinking
He's
of.
not one of the top 6
Damn.
because you're thinking
Yeah, I
Dorsey
don't know.
Levens.
Yeah, Dorsey Levens was what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
He's number 7, by the way.
7? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Close.
Okay. So
Isaac just said one that I think would be an answer.
What did he say?
he's not.
Isaac said
Well,
Paul Horning, is
He's
it?
not.
Wow.
James Starks
Wow.
isn't either, you bastard. Who has the most yards and receptions in Packers history?
Donald Driver.
Donald Driver.
Okay. How many yards did Rodgers throw to in 2010? Whoever gets closest gets it.
Wait, I didn't hear your whole question. I'm sorry.
How many yards did Rodgers throw for in 2010?
4,100.
3,800.
I actually think it was 3,829 for some reason.
Congratulations, Bryant. You won.
What was his
Oh,
He threw for 3,922, so you were very close.
ooh, that was
Oh.
close. So close. All right, Bryant is in.
Simon can have it, though.
Congratulations.
God, I knew that was going to happen, too. All right, whatever. Why don't you just fight to the death, and one of you can be in the Fantasy Football League.
Okay.
Tyler, take over. I'm over.
Brian's already dead to me, so I win.
All right, so we're going to start with our preseason players that we are watching. So these are going to be, we each pick 3 players. They could be any 3 players, so we didn't each pick 3 that the other one didn't have, but 3 players that we're watching for in the 3 preseason games. We're doing this show tonight, and then we're going to do another one on August 26th, which is the day after the final preseason game. And then starting September 9th, we're going to be doing shows every Friday night, recapping and previewing every single Packer game. So let's start. Bryant won the game, so we'll let Simon go first. Simon, give me your 3 players that you are watching in the preseason.
Okay, so I went with Jordan Love, Zach Tom, and Devontae Wyatt. I think I'm
3 of mine.
is that all 3?
No, I had one other one that I kind of put off to the side for this exact reason.
Is that exactly what you put though?
Yeah.
That's sick. Because I tried to change it to what I didn't think other people might be. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. I also had 2 others that one of you guys said I also had backups. I'm not gonna say them just in case.
I'll say you can throw them out after we all go around,
Yeah.
and then if you still want to throw them out, if nobody says them, go for it.
Jordan Love easily. Obviously, there's some speculation that Rodgers might play some in the preseason, but who knows? So it's probably going to be the Jordan Love show for the 2nd preseason in a row. And all the talks coming out of camp are that he's much improved. So that's yet to be seen. Zach Tom, obviously with the Bakhtiari and Jenkins injuries, it looks like he's going to either vying for that left or right tackle spot. So I'm interested to see how he's going to hold that down. And Devontae Wyatt being the 1st-round pick, helping out Kenny Clark on that D-line rotation. I'm also excited to watch what he can do.
All right, Brian, who are your 3 preseason players you're watching?
So like I said, Simon's had all mine. Fine, but so Zach Tom, it's interesting. I'm really interested in him because he's been like the one rookie offensive lineman that's consistently been working in with the ones, whether it's been at a guard or a tackle. I have a feeling he's in the running for that right tackle position until Elton Jenkins or someone gets back. So it'll be interesting to see there. Devontae Wyatt, I had him because we really haven't heard that much out of from camp, other than he has a super quick first step and stuff like that. So I'm really interested to see him once he can actually start hitting people and stuff. And then obviously Jordan Love, because he needs to do something. Like whether he's going to stay with us or he's going to show trade potential, it's big for us either way. And it sounds like he's been playing a lot better. He's still hit or miss, but he's been playing better. And then the other one I had was Sean Davis. And kind of Tariq Carpenter right there with him, because we really need to kind of see what's going on at the safety position.
Yep.
Sean Davis, I kind of looked into him because I was like, I don't know who this dude is. So he was a 5th-round pick last year, got cut after being injured in the preseason for a lot of the preseason, and then had a bad preseason game, got cut, and then he's been with us since last September, and he finally got called up and made had 9 snaps on special teams. So I think he's going to stick with us for special teams, and we'll see what happens. So my other one was Sean Davis, so because we kind of need to figure out who our 3rd safety is, right? So
Yeah.
Sean Davis / Tariq Carpenter.
Well, right now, based on Family Night, Darnell Savage went off the field, and then when they came back out, Vernon Scott was playing alongside Adrian Amos, so that could be the answer there. But we're still going to need a 4th safety just because they use them in certain positions, and also on special teams. Obviously, I think it's possible that Dalton Levitt could work his way into that, but that could be just strictly a special teams guy. But Jake, who 3 players are you watching in the preseason?
Okay, first of all, I hope you guys can hear me better. Am I better? Yes or no?
I think so. I think
See how long it lasts.
Yeah.
All right, see how long it lasts. This goddamn piece of crap. Anyways, so my
If you could be
First
less
one, I
ugly,
wrote
that'd be
notes.
perfect.
yeah, I'll try to work on that next. That one will take a little bit longer. Dubs, he's a star at training camp so far, right? So I want to see if he's a real deal or if he's just a camp star. Jordan Love, I also have Jordan Love because, Bryant tried to steal my idea. I think he got trade value. I think Rodgers is going to play his entire contract out, so we're going to be stuck with Rodgers 4 more years. Oh, poor us, I know. So hopefully he can earn some value and we can get a higher draft pick for him. And my last one, I wrote down Zach Tom and I put a question mark. And I put, Simon. I literally wrote that on my sheet because I knew you were going to go lineman. So I decided to go safety. And I put Levette and I put Vernon Scott because they're going to be battling for that third safety spot. And I really like Vernon Scott. He was really, really good last year in the preseason. So I'm hoping he could take that next step. He's a hard hitter and he plays hard. So I'm cheering for Vernon Scott. I'm not going to lie. I do.
Yeah, John Savage was holding the back of his leg. They tweeted that it was a hamstring, so we'll see what happens with him. Isaac Shamarjean Charles is way too small to be playing safety, so I just don't think you'll ever see him back there. He's short and thin, so he's pretty much a slot corner, and that's about all he's going to do. For me, I am the only one that didn't put Jordan Love on my list. I figured that was gonna come up, but that is weird, Andrew, that he can't hear your words, but they can come up on the subtitles.
Why
Well, at least that works. So we got that going for us.
Yeah.
Turn on the subtitles.
Really
Yeah,
Smart, damn it.
when Jake's talking, back out of the live and just watch the subtitles and then come back in when somebody else is talking. For me, I did have Romeo Doubs on my list as well. I think Christian Watson has kind of a defined role already. I think he's going to kind of step into the MVS role on day one, just because I've mentioned before that I don't think when Rodgers throws the deep ball, sometimes I don't think he even cares if it gets completed or not. He just wants the defense to know that he's thinking about it and he knows that the option is there. So with Romeo Doubs, I'm curious to see if he can elevate himself on the depth chart. I'm interested to see if the third down reliability that he showed at Nevada could show up in Green Bay and give Rodgers that trusted option on third down. Because me specifically, in the 2 seasons of Packers football that Jake and I have covered, I've always been a big harper on third down conversions and third down conversions allowed. So I'm always watching third downs really closely, sometimes even more so than other aspects of the game. I did pick a lineman as well. I'm looking at the right guard position, actually. Jake Hansen has been taking a lot of snaps there. We'll see. He's also been taking some reps at center. It'll be really interesting to see the depth of the offensive line. It's going to have to show itself right away early in the season versus somebody getting hurt halfway through the season and then the depth having to step up. They're going to have to start up, and then we're going to get some all-pros back into the offensive line. But and then with Bakhtiari being unknown and Lucas Patrick being on the Chicago Bears now, that role is kind of up for grabs. So the Lucas Patrick role, he played similar to Elton Jenkins, but not quite as versatile. So multiple offensive line positions. It seems like that's what the Packers are doing with all of their offensive linemen, is trying them at as many positions as they think they can be capable in, and that's what they're doing. Isaac brought up Kylan Hill. We'll see what he can do. What I saw was that Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are not playing any preseason games, so that if Kylan Hill is healthy, he'll have an opportunity. Otherwise, it's going to be Tyler Goodson is going to have an opportunity to show something in training camp and preseason, and then Patrick Taylor will also be in that mix. So
I know Taylor got hurt, but I've heard
yeah.
Goodson's been really explosive.
So that was going to be actually after we're done, we could talk. Yeah, that was going to be my guy. Because, yeah, like Patrick Taylor, I guess, what was his injury? Knee, I think it was, or
I think it was ham.
Groin. It was groin.
Groin. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a groin injury. So if he doesn't end up playing, then we're probably going to see a lot of was it BJ Baylor and
Isaac just said BJ Baylor. Yep. Yeah. Tyler Goodson, I think is the guy.
I'm actually pretty excited for Tyler Goodson. I think he could be. He caught a lot of balls in was it Iowa?
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, for sure. And Andrew brought up that they're keeping the running backs fresh. That's something that Matt LaFleur has actually done a very, very good job of managing running backs since he's been the head coach of the Packers. The last guy that I'm watching, I brought him up when we were talking about players that we're excited for. This is also a preseason player that I'm watching. It's Quay Walker. So I did mention him as a defensive player that I'm excited for. I believe he's going to win the starting job if he hasn't already, next to Campbell. And then I'm just looking forward to seeing him in quote unquote real game action. So Quay Walker is the last guy that I'm looking for. I'm really, really excited to see what he can do for the team this year.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for him too. But honestly, I'll be surprised if they let him. I don't know how many snaps he's actually going to get. I think it sounds like he's. I'm sure they'll give him some since he's a rookie. But I
think it's maybe like first half.
Yeah, he's pretty much locked into that.
It seems like he's already got the starting role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any other honorable mentions that you wanted to toss out there?
I got one more. It's kind of cheating, but I put down punt returner because last year was just. I was holding my breath every time we went for a punt return. So
and
I know they're giving Amari Rodgers some chances again, and it looks like Romeo Doubs, however you want to say it, also has a shot at taking that as well. Yeah, Doubs. I'm down for it.
Yeah. And I was going to say, one of my players was going to be Romeo Doubs because obviously the way everything coming out of camp, and it wasn't necessarily going to be for wide receivers. Also, that he was a pretty successful punt returner in college. But the other thing I'll kind of be keeping my eye on is the whole kicking operation, at least the long snapper and the holder, because I don't know if Mason Crosby is going to get in there, but this is something we need to keep an eye on.
Probably not. I don't think Crosby is going to at all. It'll probably just be Burkich. He's going to be the guy for the preseason.
Like Jack Coco is going to be our long snapper too.
I don't know if you guys are watching this family night, but man, the number one offense just had about 10 shots at goal line, and I think they scored once on that defense. So
yeah, the defense.
Quay Walker's flying around and stuff. So.
I'm so excited because we know the defense is going to be good. We expect the offense to be good, so it's just this constant clashing where it's like the defense makes a great play, and then instead of giving credit to the defense, people are like, "Oh shit, does our offense suck?" And then the offense makes a really great play, and people are like, "Oh, is the defense not as good as we think it's going to be?" It's like, no, this is Matt LaFleur. Okay. I said this when you guys were on with us last Wednesday, that I said iron sharpens iron. I shit you not, the next day in his media availability, Matt LaFleur uses the phrase iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
So that's exactly what's going to be happening in camp here. Isaac did also mention Tederel Slayton. I think that's a good one as well for players to watch, because that defensive line, there's going to be a lot of competition there as well, actually, with bringing in Jaron Reed and Devontae Wyatt into the existing group.
And to kind of go off of the training camp thing too, you don't want to ride the highs or the too lows too hard when it comes to training camp.
You don't want to do that in the regular season either, but especially in training camp.
But especially in training camp. Also, it's good to see both sides winning. You don't want to hear too much of one side winning. Otherwise, you're going to fall hard deep into that trap. So it's good to see the offense win some and the defense win some.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. Like you said, you don't want to be hard and deep on it, but I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Come on, man. Hold it together.
All right. So we've been asked a couple times to talk about the assistant coaches that the Green Bay Packers have. We've mentioned these names. You hear Jerry Gray and you hear Jason Vrabel's name. Some people might not be 100% familiar with Rich Pistachia yet because he's only been with the team for 4 months. So we're going to go through the assistant coaches. We're going to say what their job is, some of their experience, some of the players they've worked with, and what position group they're coaching. So we'll go in the reverse order of the preseason players. I'll start. First one, yes, Isaac Keeping-Stenovich was huge. I will say that in every single show. Jason Vrabel is the wide receivers coach. He's been in NFL coaching for 10 years, 4 with Green Bay. He was with the Jets in 2017 and 2018 when they had Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse. Those two were one of 3 duos in 2017 with 60 receptions at 800 yards each. So Jason Vrabel does have some pretty experience with wide receivers. And then he was also with Buffalo from 2013 to 2016, which brings in the Sammy Watkins familiarity, which is probably partially the reason that they brought him in. And then before that, even he had lots of college experience. Next one that I got is John Dunn. He is the tight ends coach. He's got 6 years in the NFL, 2 with the Green Bay Packers. He spent 2019 and 2020 with the Jets. He was an offensive assistant with the Bears from 2016 to 2017. He was the offensive coordinator at UConn in 2018. And then from 2011 to 2015, he was the the tight end coach at Maryland, not Washington. In 2014, Maryland was 9th in red zone scoring percentage. So that's something that could potentially bode well for Robert Tonyan to kind of pick up his touchdown rate. Maryland in 2014 in the red zone had a 91.4% scoring percentage.
Dang.
That is a lot of scoring. Last one that I got is Kirk Olivadi. He is the inside linebackers coach. He's been with Green Bay since 2019. He actually helped lead Chris Barnes from an undrafted free agent to the starting role and leading rookies in tackles, actually. So he also helped Blake Martinez break the Packers record for tackles as well. He spent 16 years with Washington, coaching guys like London Fletcher and Brian Arakpo. From 2000 to 2010, the Washington defense was top 10 8 times.
Dang.
8 times in 10 years, Washington had a top 10 defense, and he was part of that. And he also coached Alec Ogletree at Georgia, so he's got a lot of experience coaching linebackers. And then, obviously, in addition to him, we have the linebacker whisperer, Joe Barry, who is my guy. But we'll go back to Jake. What's up, David? It's definitely good to have football talk again. We're looking forward to ramping these shows up. We're going to have a couple weeks off after this one to let preseason play out. And then we're doing a show on the 26th. And then starting September 9th, we're doing shows every Friday throughout the entire season. So definitely going to be a lot more football talk coming up. So, Jake, who are the 3 assistants that you were looking at?
All right. Well, I wasn't going to start with them. Since Isaac said something, I'll start with Tom Clemons. Obviously, we know him. He's a familiar name. I wanted to say this. He's 69 years old, so nice.
Nice.
He was in Green Bay from 06 to 2011 as a quarterback coach. He was the OC from 2012 to 2014, and as head coach 15-16. When he took over from McCarthy, whatever. He has a lot of experience. Man, he's been in Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Arizona. He was just in Arizona in 2019, 2020, grooming up Kyler Murray. He was probably studying film back then too, if he had Tom Clemons. He had 3 quarterbacks before he met Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers that made the Pro Bowl. Elvis Gerbach, I have no idea who that is. He used to be the quarterback of Kansas City in 2000.
Nope.
Made the Pro Bowl because of Tom Clemons. Cordell Stewart made the Pro Bowl under Tom Clemons.
Okay.
And Tommy Maddox made the Pro Bowl under him. So this guy knows what he's talking about. Rodgers is calling him his favorite and most influential coach. Rodgers and him had a sit down before Rodgers got his 4th MVP this past year. He was in LA, and he went over to Tom. He's like, hey, do you want to come back? He said, I'll have to think about it. And Aaron basically talked him into coming back. The next coach I have is Jason Raprovich. He is the outside linebackers coach. He has 20 years of coaching experience in total, 8 years in the NFL. His 8 years in the NFL is with the Bills from 13 to 16 and the Jaguars. He helped Calais Campbell become a star. He helped Josh Allen break onto the scene recently. When I was watching his interviews, because I watched interviews on all these guys, he said that he really likes a 4-man rotation. So when you think about the 4-man rotation at outside linebacker, you got Gary, you got Preston Smith, you got Jonathan Garvin maybe, who he mentioned, and then we have Enagba, who we just drafted. We have somebody else coming off an injury. Can't think of his name right now.
You're thinking of Randy Ramsey.
Yeah, he mentioned him too.
Don't lose Tipa Nalii in that shuffle either.
Yep. Yeah. He said he just likes a 4-man rotation, and he said it doesn't matter what down. He said obviously to start the game you're gonna have Gary and Preston, right? But he said after that, we can just send a guy in whenever they're fresh. But he said he likes a 4-man rotation. Chris Barnes at outside linebacker, huh? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, if if Quay Walker is going to end up playing a lot of snaps, I didn't look and see how many snaps Devondre Campbell played last year. Looking at Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary, those two only played about 65, 66% of snaps. So those guys are out there about 2/3 of the plays. But I'm not sure how many snaps Campbell and Quay Walker are going to be playing. But Chris Barnes is going to be the primary backup to both of those two. So, well, it's not a terrible idea considering to use him on the outside. I just don't see it as particularly likely because he is going to be backing up those other two. As far as answering the question, will Green Bay's offensive line be able to hold while Rodgers' wide receivers need the extra time for separation? The wide receiver situation is definitely one that we're going to be watching in the preseason. Hopefully Christian Watson is good enough in his rehab to be able to play in some of these preseason games, just so we can see what kind of separation he gets just because of how fast he is. Alan Lazard, he's done well enough to getting separation in the past. And then other than that, we're going to be looking at Randall Cobb, Romeo Doubs to see what he can bring. Sammy Watkins, we haven't really seen a ton of him because he's only been practicing for a week. So I'm not 100% sold that guys are going to need extra time to get separation. But that offensive line depth is also something that we're watching. It's something the Packers have actually been really fortunate to be able to fill in for basically, I mean, since Gutekunst took over, and even going back farther than that, is just constantly refilling the offensive line to the point that they don't usually end up paying guys that play at a Pro Bowl level. There's plenty of examples of guys walking and getting paid somewhere else, and the Packers just set the next guy in, and he starts playing well. So that's kind of a question mark as far as the offensive line and wide receiver separation. It's definitely going to be something that's going to be a fluid situation. Not to use one of Matt LaFleur's words, but he said fluid 100 times when talking about the wide receivers in his press conferences. But don't lose Aaron Jones in that conversation as well. Aaron Jones is going to be a big safety valve for Aaron Rodgers should he find himself in trouble in the passing game. And then Aaron Rodgers is never a guy shy to throw the ball away and get to the next play. So, he'll do what it takes to get to the next play. So, that's going to be something we're going to have to find out in the first few weeks of the season. And that's a good time to bring up that if the Packers offense gets off to a slow start for the first couple weeks, not a reason to freak out. It's not a reason to say the Packers aren't going anywhere because their offense starts slow, especially without two of their best offensive linemen. And then a lot of question marks at wide receiver that, questions that we're going to need answered. So we're going to find those answers out in the first few weeks of the season. But like I said, if the offense gets off to a slow start, it's not a reason to panic. So let's go to Bryant. He's got 3 assistants that he is.
Hold on, I'm going to answer the question.
Go ahead, Jake.
Answer the question first. The wide receivers will be schemed open, okay?
That's a good point.
That's how we're going to figure that out. Yep. They're going to be schemed open.
Matt LaFleur does.
And
yep, that's a good point.
We're going to have a great time doing it against your trash cornerbacks week 1, so that'll be a lot of fun. I am here to troll. My last guy I got is Luke Butkus. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's a Dick Butkus. 2022 will be his 18th year in coaching in college or NFL, so this guy knows what he's doing. He's been in Green Bay since 2019. He came over with Stenovich, been an assistant line coach, and then he's moved up to the head O-line coach. This will be the first year that he is the head coach for a position group, exactly like Stenovich did in 2019. And look what happened. It was a seamless transition. Stenovich called him a great outlet. I'm not going to say the entire quote because he talked about Butkus for a long time when he was asked the question about him, but he just called him a great outlet. So he's going to do a great job. He knows what he's doing. He has played offensive line in college. He was a 2-time All Big Ten player as a center at Illinois. So he played in a conference where O-linemen are made. So he knows what he's doing. He understands the blocking schemes. He understands football. He's been around it his entire life. So Luke Butkus is going to keep the Packers offensive line elite.
All righty. Now we'll go to Brian. We'll let Brian give his offensive or his assistant coaches.
Okay, so my first one is Rich Pistachia, who everyone knows is the new special teams coordinator. So he's actually had 38 years of coaching experience and 20 in the NFL as a special teams coordinator with Las Vegas, Dallas, San Diego, and Tampa Bay. Of course, he won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay.
Okay. I I was going to ask if he was with them in their first or their second Super Bowl, because Joe Barry was with Tampa Bay in the 2001 team. So
Yeah, he really.
he was the linebackers coach of that team.
Yeah, Rich Pistachia was there too. That's when he won it. Was it with them in 2001? So
So they were They were coaching the same team at the same time.
And I'm assuming that was his tie to Gruden to get back to Las Vegas. So
interesting.
He had a total of 11 years as assistant head coach as well. And last year, it's important to note that when he took over for Gruden, he went 7-5 and led that Raiders team to the to the playoffs. Couple of things I found interesting is when he was the Dallas special teams coordinator, and he calls it WeFence now, right? Is they went from the 29th in the league to 5th in the league in kickoff return average, like their first year. When in San Diego, his first year they went from, in 2 years they went from 32nd to 13th in net punting, and then and actually they went from 32nd to 8th in special teams DVOA in 2 years.
Damn.
With Dallas, they went from 15th to 8th in DVOA his first years. Were never worse than 13, and 3 of the 5 years they were in the top 10 in special teams DVOA.
Wow.
So he didn't have as much success in Oakland, but I have a feeling there was a lot else going on there. And then Green Bay was 32nd last year in DVOA for special teams. So there's really, if he can just even get us to like a middle tier or 15 to 20 range, we probably win that San Francisco game at least last year. So I don't think we're going to jump up in the top 10 by any means, but it sounds like he's a really fiery coach. I've seen people say the first fight in camp is going to be Rich Pistachia and someone else on the special teams because he's just always yelling at him and stuff. I know, like Amari Rodgers fair punt caught a punt and he ran by and screamed at him. Some words I won't use here on live on Facebook, but so he's definitely a fiery coach. So
Matt LaFleur even said that he's got like a really high intensity about him.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. So if he can even get us to some improvement, it's going to be great. My next coach is Ben Sermons, who's a running back coach. He's been 26 years total as a coach, and he's in his 10th year in the NFL. And he's actually been with Green Bay since 2016. But before Green Bay, he was with the Rams from 2013 to 2015, and he helped lead Gurley to Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then he also helped with when we were kind of beat up at running back. He helped in his first year. He helped transition Montgomery into a running back, and he led the league in yards per attempt. And then the next year, he tutored Jones and Williams, and they were the first running backs in like Green Bay history to each have over 400 yards and 300 receiving or something their first year. And then in 2018, the team averaged 5.01 yards an attempt, which is second highest ever in Packers history, which is kind of crazy to think about. Think about the running teams we used to have. And of course, he's coached Aaron Jones his entire career. And Aaron Jones, with 861 yards this year, will become the third highest rusher in Green Bay history. So he only needs like 80-something yards to be fourth. So he's right there. So that's Ben Sermons. The last one is Jerry Montgomery, who got promoted to our run game coordinator this year. So this is his 8th season as a Packers coach. He's been with us for a while. I think the big things that we want to talk about with him is he's really helped mentor Kenny Clark, who is the first Packers defensive tackle to make multiple Pro Bowls since the 60s. He did coach 11 seasons, and he coached at big programs like Oklahoma and Michigan in college. I'm excited to see what he can do with Devontae Wyatt. And then the Packers were 11th in yards allowed per game allowed in rushing last year, which everyone's like, oh, rushing defense is our weakness. We were actually 11th best. It was
better than it's been. It's not the 2019 rushing defense.
I think what the big part was our short yardage, right? Like if it got to 3rd and 1, we weren't stopping people very often. But now that he's the run game coordinator, he's going to also have an effect on like the second level with. Now he's got Quay Walker and Campbell to play with, and so I'm really excited to see what he can do with that. But that's Jerry Montgomery. He also plays the Arena League. So.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's important. The Arena League. Yeah. The Arena League experience is really important.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, Simon, who are the 3 assistant coaches you have to introduce?
All right, so I got Ryan Downard. He was promoted to safeties coach this year in March. This is his 5th season in Green Bay, going into his 5th season, I should say. He assisted as the defensive backs coach from 2019, 2020 to 2021, and he also worked as a defensive quality control coach in 2018. He was in Bowling Green for two seasons, serving as a safeties coach in 2017 and 2016. He also worked with the Cleveland Browns, assisting with the defensive line in 2014 and defensive backs in 2015. So that's Ryan Downard, our safeties coach. I don't have anything like super special stats or anything like you guys did. I didn't know we were going that deep into it. Otherwise, I would have looked much harder. I just wanted to do like a quick intro thing.
I mean, we're just introducing and getting people familiar with the names and their positions that they're coaching. So
yeah, man.
Next
you're
time,
good.
I'll have 5 pages of notes.
Well, we'll have a replacement for you by then, anyways. So.
Yeah. I got it. I'm fired. Understood. Next, a lot of Packer fans should be pretty familiar with Jerry Gray. He has 24 seasons of NFL coaching experience, so this dude's been around a lot. He also has 8 seasons as a defensive coordinator with Buffalo and Tennessee. He originally joined the Packers in 2020 as defensive backs coach, and then he was also promoted to defensive backs and passing game coordinator last March. The only, I guess, special stat I have in 22 seasons as a defensive coordinator or defensive backs coach, he helped defenses to top 10 league rankings 10 times, and in overall defense 10 times, and passing defense 11 times.
So essentially 50% of the time that he's worked with the defense, they're top 10.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's also, when he works with defensive backs, they have combined 13 Pro Bowl selections in his 14 seasons coaching that position.
Nice.
With at least one of his players earning Pro Bowl honors in 9 of those seasons. All right, moving on. Last but certainly not least, everyone should be really familiar with Adam Stenavich. I know all of us here pump this dude up.
Yeah.
We're all happy he stayed.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year he's the current offensive coordinator, and he's promoted in the offseason from his offensive line coach after the departure of Nathaniel Hackett. This is the second time a person born in Wisconsin, because he was born in Marshfield, Wisconsin, holds the title of offensive coordinator. Anyone want to take a guess on the last one?
Oh, this is good. I have no idea.
I didn't know either.
Probably somebody older than, or probably before I was born.
Nope.
No? Recent?
Pretty recent.
Really?
Pretty recent.
I'm gonna be fucking mad now when you say that.
It's probably Nathaniel Hackett.
No.
Jeff
Jagodzinski. This guy's name.
You should have YouTubed it, bro.
Yeah. I mean, my name's effed up, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you're Jane's a kick.
Yep. Close enough. And that was in 2006.
It's better than your caption for StreamYard, I can tell you that.
Yeah, you're a potty mouth.
I don't think it is.
Well, we're not going to sit around and find out.
So he was also the offensive line coach in Northern Arizona in 2014 and San Jose for 2 more seasons after that, where he landed in San Francisco in 2017, and then Matt LaFleur hired him in 2019. A lot of us give a monumental amount of credit for what he did with the offensive line last season. They had 9 different guys start an offensive line position last year, including 2 rookies.
That's got to be near the top of the league for both of those.
It's crazy. I think Philly was pretty bad last year too, right? Or was that the year prior? As someone had a really bad luck last year with offensive line. I can't remember who it was. I think they were the only ones that had more. So they, in all that turmoil, 11th fewest sacks allowed in the league, and also
and that's why we're positive, Jim.
And 9th in 26, 9th in points per game. So I mean, with all that turmoil and stuff, I'm a little hesitant on this year because Jenkins is out as far as the tackles go, but I'm still pretty bullish on our offensive line, what they're able to do. And I think PFF had us like 13th in the league last year in graded offensive line, so not
Sounds
bad,
about right.
middle of the pack with all that. So I'll take that all day.
Not bad,
That's-
missing 2 Pro Bowl players.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say the way that they made Josh Nijman a third offensive left tackle, the way they made him look last year, and I still don't understand why he didn't start playoff game, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I have the utmost respect and confidence that our offensive line is going to be just fine.
And that's crazy because I actually looked at Josh Nijman during the preseason last year, and he looked bad.
Oh yeah,
he was terrible in the preseason, and then he came in like halfway through the regular season and played really well when it mattered. So
I wonder how much of that was just like nerves and stuff, because he never started anything, and he was he was a undrafted free agent,
right.
coming in and stuff. So I believe a lot of that was nerves, and going into the season, and that the game he started against San Francisco, I think that pumped him up a little bit after that.
It just goes to show that don't take preseason too seriously when it comes to performance.
Yeah, the reason they didn't start in the playoff game is because they said they wanted experience. I'll take the talent level over the experience at that point. It was just, I don't understand that decision either. But that was the reason they came out, was that Stenovich wanted the experience and LaFleur agreed. But let's get past that.
Yeah. That's why I wanted Billy Turner gone. He got killed in back-to-back playoff games. Is why I wanted Billy Turner gone. So.
Yeah.
All right, so David asked the question, record predictions. We're going to save that for the August 26th show because we are actually going to predict the entire NFC North record predictions.
17-0, though.
Oh, okay. All right, well, he didn't even say spoiler alert, so he just blurted it out. But yes, we are going to do, on the August 26th show, we are going to predict the entire NFC North record predictions. And then when we do our weekly recaps and previews, we're actually going to do a divisional roundup every week as well, just so we can kind of keep in touch with that a little bit closer. We got some extra people around, so we can do some extra things. Isaac, we're going to go 17-0 in the preseason too.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll probably go 0-3 in the preseason. We suck in the preseason.
Hey, everyone knows Detroit's going to go 3-0.
Yeah, so is Baltimore. They haven't lost a preseason game in like 22 years.
Yeah. If they started their starters last year till halftime, just to win a preseason game, and then Dobbins tore his ACL.
No wonder their whole fucking team got injured.
All right, so we're gonna do. This is gonna be a new segment that we're doing. It's called Progress and Regress. So we have each of us have one offensive and one defensive player that we think is going to progress in 2022, and then one player we think is going to regress on offense and defense in 2022. I think there's only two that we have where one person has a regress on a person that somebody has a progress on. So we're not going to get fully undisputed or first take on you here, but we're going to talk some of these things out, and we're going to give some reasoning why. I don't know if it's a good place to do this, but I trust these guys to have good reasoning to go with their thought processes. So we'll see if that turns out to be a good idea or not. But we're going to start with Bryant. We're going to let Bryant go first and talk about his progression prediction for Josh Myers.
So I think he'll progress for first and foremost is because he's going to play more, right? He only played 6 games last year. So that's the first thing. There's really only way to go is up, and he didn't have a great rookie season. So in the 293 snaps that he did play, he didn't have a penalty. He didn't give up a sack, but he did give up 9 hurries. And then just like for an idea, in the 1,056 snaps Lindsley played in his rookie year, he only gave up 15 hurries. So Myers was giving up more hurries for sure, but he didn't have a penalty or give up a sack. So that was good. The reason I do think he'll progress, though, is because he was 34th among centers that played more than 200 snaps. So, he wasn't even considered a starter one. But I do think he'll progress once he didn't really have a chance to get settled in. And then, but the reason I think he'll progress is because he did finish PFF 19th graded pass blocking center. And that's interesting because he finished 37th in run blocking, but his strength coming out of college was run blocking. So I think once he kind of gets used to the NFL and he gets a little more settled in and actually gets to get going, I think he's definitely going to show an improvement. Let's let's be honest, one of the staples that Green Bay has had the last decade or plus is really just having that staple at center. So I'm hoping Josh Myers can take that next step, get a little more comfortable with Aaron Rodgers, be a little more healthy, get his really get his, just get going. His first game last year, Aaron Rodgers complimented him after the first game last year, and said that he played great against New Orleans. And he was one of the few that got a compliment for that game. So he's shown that he can do it. I think he's just gonna get settled in, and I think he's gonna get going here. And like I said, there's really nowhere to go but up, because he did finish like 34th as centers. But I don't think that's indicative of what he will be as a center. I don't know that he'll necessarily ever be a top 10 center or anything like that. But I do think if he can get up and get take another good leap this year and get settled in and play all most of the games, hopefully all 17 games, I think we'll start to see our future center play a lot better.
So I don't know or care to know what type of offense Ohio State runs, but I don't know if it's different from what Green Bay runs. So that could be a potential learning curve there as well. And like you said, only playing the 6 games. So that's enough reason right there to give him the benefit of the doubt to learn the offense and the new system. So
they run a pro style offense. That's why Scott.
Yep, run game.
People from Ohio State. They run a pro style offense.
Yeah. What hurts What hurts the most, like, I don't need to start singing, but is the fact that Creed Humphrey got picked right after him. Creed Humphrey was one of the better centers in the entire game. So there was always that, like, do you go Josh Myers or Creed Humphrey kind of thing? And I don't want to say we picked the wrong one. I want to give Josh Myers a chance. So hopefully he shows that he was worth the pick this year.
I mean, now that it's a 17-game season, 6 games is essentially a third of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
So. All right, Jake's got the next one. He is talking Robert Tonyan.
Yes, my boy, Big Bobby Tonyan. All right. So, I have some good stuff on him. The reason why I think he's going to improve is one of the reasons Brian said about Myers is I think he's going to play more. Obviously, getting hurt in that Week 8 game, he was really starting to put some stuff together in that game, getting targeted, stretching the middle of the field, running all sorts of routes, corner routes, post routes. He was running close to the line. One of the things that I want to see this year is I think Simon comments, well, being on the show, that is just legendary, buddy.
I'm paying attention, don't worry.
Caught me off guard, I'm sorry.
Every time you hear Simon's mouse, dude, it's just him clicking back and forth between us and Family Night. Dude, that's the way to go. You can put us on the side and watch Family Night at the same time. That's the way to go.
I am not mad about that at all. Just caught me off guard. I'm not.
I went to Facebook so I can read the closed captioning so I can know what Jake is saying.
You son of a bitch. Yeah, read that one, you bastard.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think
Jake, why is there a bunch of stars when you're talking?
I think Tonyan, his game is a little bit old school and a little bit new school. And new school being he's fast and he can run all the routes. And old school being he's not afraid to mix it up. Ask Nick Bosa, who got pancaked by him 3 times in one game. He's a guy that's not afraid to mix it up. I also think I want to see Packers use him in the slot this year. I think a bigger slot wide receiver is the way to go. That's the way NFL training. Randall Cobb, who, spoiler alert, is going to be my regress. I think he's going to take a step back because of Tonyan taking his snaps from the slot, especially in the red zone. We don't have Devontae Adams anymore. So Robert Tonyan could become that go-to option in the red zone. And for a guy who has a 0% drop percentage the last 2 years, and just 2 years ago when he was healthy, had almost a 90% catch percentage. This guy had 11 touchdowns, which was first in the NFL, or first in the NFL for tight ends and 5th in the NFL total. He was tied for 5th in the NFL total for touchdowns. I think Tonyan is in line to get a lot of those targets that Devontae left behind.
All right. I like that one. He's another guy similar to Josh Myers that just needs to be on the field more. So mine, this is going to be an interesting one to see because this is the first one that had a progress and a regress from us. So I'm going to go first. I'm going to start with Aaron Rodgers. So I went and looked back at the last time that Aaron Rodgers did not have a wide receiver 1 on his team. You have to go back a while. It's going back before Devontae Adams, going back before Jordy Nelson, and in between Greg Jennings. So had to go back to the 2012 season was the last time that Aaron Rodgers did not have a locked and loaded wide receiver one. I don't feel the need to, preface this as, somewhat irrelevant because it was from 10 years ago, because Aaron Rodgers has shown he's the same caliber player from 2012 to now, as evidenced by winning a whole bunch of MVPs within those years. So I don't think that there's any regression as far as talent level is concerned with Aaron Rodgers, except for maybe running the ball a little bit less. But when I drop the rushing statistics from 2012, it'll be pretty evident that it's not really that relevant. So 2012, the Packers had no wide receivers over 1,000 yards. Randall Cobb was the leader with 954. The leading rusher on that team, anybody want to take a stab at who the leading rusher in 2012 was?
That was the year before Eddie Lacy, I believe.
It was. Was it, what's his name? Green? Alex
Green? No,
Alex Green.
No.
Was it Alex Green?
Really?
It was Alex Green.
Oh,
well done,
Hey.
Simon. Anybody
Wow.
want
Out
to
of
guess
Hawaii.
how many
Out of Hawaii.
yards he had?
Was it
284.
430 something? It was
464 was our leading rusher in
This
2012.
guy.
You know who the second leading rusher was?
Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers.
It was Aaron Rodgers. 259 rushing yards in 2012 was our second leading rusher.
Justin.
Jesus,
Rodgers
guys.
passing that season, 371 for 552, 4,295 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions without a 1,000 wide receiver. So,
He's good at football.
that being said, looking at Aaron Rodgers, the progression that I'm looking to see for him is touchdowns. So in 2020, he threw 48 touchdowns. 2021, he threw 37. So in 2022, I'm looking to see him kind of in the middle there, throw more than 37 touchdowns, maybe into the low 40s, mid 40s. The Packers will run the ball a lot, as they have under Matt LaFleur, and I think they'll be able to continue using that to their advantage, especially at the goal line. And I do think Aaron Jones will be a beneficiary in that as well. And then having Robert Tonyan back, like Jake said, will also help. I think Robert Tonyan could be an effective red zone target. Then going to yards. Looking at Aaron Rodgers' average yards since Matt LaFleur has been the head coach, is little over 4,200 yards. Last season, he had 4,115, so 4,115 yards last season. It's about 100 yards below his average with Matt LaFleur. So I do see a potential progression there on receiving or on passing yards, not receiving yards. That would be weird. So without a wide receiver one, that's why I bring up the 2012 season. That was the last time he didn't have a wide receiver one. That season, Rodgers had just short of 4,300 yards and no running game to take any of the pressure off. So the Packers do have the running game to take the pressure off the passing game now and force some one-on-ones with the wide receivers. And then the last thing that I'm looking for, some progression with Aaron Rodgers, is his rating. In 2020, he had a 121.5 rating. In 2021, he had a 111.9 rating. I'm looking in 2022 to see him somewhere around 115 for rating. So that's what I'm looking for some progression from Aaron Rodgers is yards, touchdowns, and rating. I will kick it to Bryant for his regression points.
So I want to start this off by saying, first off, it's really hard to progress when you just won the MVP, and that's one of the reasons I think he'll regress. Two is I still think he'll be very highly efficient. It's Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. He's still going to be highly efficient, but I do think that they lost 149 receptions, 1,983 yards, and 14 touchdowns with the departure of Adams and MVS. MVS, I think that's easily. I think that's easily replaced by Christian Watson, like we talked about. I think Christian Watson is going to be our home run threat the second he steps on the field, and he could do more. To me, he's MVS, but he's stronger, and he's going to be able to do more like end around and stuff like that. So, but for me, the reason that I think he'll regress a little bit is it's going to take a second for him, or a few games for him to get used to. He's going to have 3 wide receivers this year that are contributing a decent amount that he hasn't played in the actual game with yet, and that's Watson, Watkins and Dubs is looking like with what he's shown in preseason, that he's probably going to play a fair share of snaps, right?
Yep.
So I think it's going to take a while for him to get settled in with him, at least a little bit. He still has his main people like Cobb and Lazard that he can go to, and I do think Aaron Jones is about to put up some monster number. A bold prediction for me would be that Aaron Jones is going to break the Packers like receiving record all time for a running back this year. I don't know what it is, but I think Aaron Jones has the potential of doing that this year.
When we talked about players we're excited for, I threw out 80 receptions as a possibility for Aaron Jones. So that's,
and I think So I'm thinking he's going to put up. 500 yards is probably the floor in receiving for him, I think, this year.
Sure, that's fair.
So the next thing is the offensive line, right? Now, if Bakhtiari comes back, that's an instant boost. But I do think that we have seen Aaron Rodgers his first year with, or one of his last years with McCarthy is he I don't want to say he was seeing ghosts. He's too good to see ghosts, but you could see that he was speeding up a little bit and he got out of his fundamentals when the line wasn't as good. I do think our line will still be very good. I just if we're leaning on Zach Tom and Newman and stuff, there's going to be more pressure. And Myers still is pretty young and green, like we just talked about, only played 6 games, so there could be some more pressure. So I think as he gets settled in and our offensive line gets healthy, there could be some problems there. And lastly, I do think we're going to lean more heavily on the run game. I do think you could see an uptick a little bit in the amount of the run game. And that's because our run game is very good. Also, our defense is so good that I think that we'll get leads. And I don't want to say we're going to take our foot off the gas because, LaFleur's saying, but and if you go back to what Simon said a couple episodes about ball control and, how, time of possession, I do think we're going to try to take some of these games that we can, get up a couple touchdowns, and we will run the ball more. Not saying that we'll completely not throw the ball and stuff, but I do think we'll lean more on the running game because how good our defense is. So with your predictions, I do think it's funny. This is a regress for Aaron Rodgers. This is what I wrote down for my my predictions was 4,100 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Every other probably 28 of the teams in the NFL would be like, if you told me that's what my quarterback was going to put up, I would take it right now. There's only a few other, that's what's crazy to me. And he said it a few years ago, my bad years are career years for people. So even 34 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. It's not like I think he's going to fall off the table, but I do think he'll regress a little bit.
That's one of my all-time favorite Rodgers quotes.
Yeah. So it's crazy. Rodgers doesn't have the rushing that this quarterback does, but Jalen Hurts threw 16 touchdowns last year. He did also rush for 10, but he threw 16 touchdowns last year.
But in fantasy, he was the number 4 quarterback.
Yeah,
exactly.
That means they should be good. But so I'm not going to argue that. I don't think, and I hope I'm wrong, and I could very well be wrong because Aaron Rodgers has proven us wrong how many times. But it's really just hard to progress, and maybe he'll progress more in the fact that he's just not leaning on Adams anymore. But we just don't have that person that can get open right away. I do agree with Jake that they're going to be schemed open, and that's going to happen. But I just think there will be a little bit of a step back. And maybe it'll be good that he doesn't win an MVP this year because it's really hard for the MVP winner to ever win a Super Bowl. So how about he just puts up his 39 touchdowns? Maybe he'll meet somewhere in the middle of what we're saying, throw for 4,100 yards, have his low interception, and we'll go to the Super Bowl. I'm fine with that. So even though I'm saying he's going to regress, it's not like he's still going to be a top 5 to 3 quarterback in the league statistically.
I think he could definitely progress in some of the efficiency metrics, but as far as overall numbers and stuff, I think he'll regress a little bit. Nothing ecstatic or anything like Brian was just saying, but I think he could definitely improve on some of the other stuff.
For me, I'm looking for just to see some more. I'm basically just splitting the difference on what he did in 2020 and what he did in 2021, and just kind of meeting in the middle. 2018, 2019 were kind of the feel it out years in the Matt LaFleur offense, the completely new system. So Andrew said he was surprised to hear the prediction for increased production from Aaron Jones with the emergence of A.J. Dillon. I don't necessarily see a lower usage rate in store for Aaron Jones. I think it's actually going to be pretty similar to how last year was, where they're both going to get about even carries, and then in passing situations, Aaron Jones is going to be the guy, and A.J. Dillon will reel in a few catches a game. But Aaron Jones, we talked about it when we did the players that we're excited for. I mentioned the possibility for Aaron Jones to eclipse 80 receptions this year. And Bryant and Simon both brought up Alvin Kamara as a model for what Aaron Jones could be in the passing game. And I think that's a perfectly reasonable goal for Aaron Jones to set, is to have a season like that where he's productive in both areas.
The Packers already showed now on Family Night. I was reading a tweet that they've shown a drop or whatever with A.J. Dillon in the back and Jones in the slot. So I think, that's going to happen. So
I have those stats somewhere. I have them.
I'm just going to bring this up about Quadzilla here. We play better defenses and we play big-time games like this season. Look at the Rams game. They threw a touchdown pass to A.J. Dillon. And when we were playing the 49ers, our offense was really chugging along when A.J. Dillon was getting those extra 3 yards, because good running backs fall forward and he's a little bit bigger. Our offense started to stall out once he got knocked out of the game. And that's not a knock on Aaron Jones, but I think that A.J. Dillon is just going to get used a lot in short situations. And on an offense that doesn't have a guy that you can just automatically be like, okay, I'm going to go to him on this way. We're going to draw this play for him. I think A.J. Dillon is going to get a little bit more bump. I think they're really close to 50-50, where last year probably favored Jones. But I think A.J. Dillon and Jones are going to be right there at snap counts.
Matt LaFleur was asked about it, actually, about their snap counts and if they're going to be on the field together. And Matt LaFleur entertained the idea of the two of them playing on the field at the same time often. They're not really going to have a fullback this year unless they use DeGuara in that situation. And then we don't really even know who the third running back is. So it's not going to be a heavy rotation thing. It might just be, like Jake said, like a straight-up 50-50 split. And, getting into late game situations, if the Packers are up double digits, something like that, then bringing in a Kylan Hill or a Patrick Taylor to get some reps. But, I would certainly possibly say progression for both of those two even. I think Jake said it on the last show that both of them could easily eclipse, what did you say, like 1,500 scrimmage yards for both of them?
I think it's doable.
Last year, the Packers split, I think, was 57% pass, 43% run. And I think Matt LaFleur said this year he wants it to be around 55-45. So just a tiny bit less passing and more running game. And Matt LaFleur does use the running game very efficiently. And that's something he doesn't go away with. So next, we're going to go to Simon to give his first progression. And his first progression is Kenny Clark.
So this one's pretty simple for me. I don't have any advanced metrics or anything. I just think that finally, it seems like it's been years since we've either drafted or brought in a guy to specifically play or start or play a huge role on the defensive line next to Kenny Clark. Because the past couple seasons, it's been Dean Lowry, it's been Lancaster,
just guys that take up space.
Snacks Harrison, Snacks Harrison for 2 games or something. Yeah.
Last person really was Mike Daniels. So
but he was falling off early when Kenny was just getting going.
So I mean, look what they did for Kenny Clark in the offseason. Brought in Jerron Reed, drafted Devontae Wyatt. I think Slayton's going to take a little bit of step forward to Dean Lowry ended up having a career year for himself last year. I know a lot of people were pretty low on Dean Lowry last year, but in my opinion, he showed up.
He was really good last year. I don't think you could have asked anything more from him. He had 6.5 sacks and knocking balls down at the line. I mean, you could almost get into a situation where you call him like JJ Watt light. He's obviously not going to be the pass rusher that JJ Watt is, but to give you a watered down version of what JJ Watt does, I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable.
Just for reference, Kenny Clark played 16 games last year for the Packers. He had 48 tackles, 4 sacks, 13 quarterback hits, and 6 tackles for loss. I'm not necessarily saying progression as far as, beating a lot of those numbers or whatever. I think he'll be a little more efficient due to the rotation that that the defense is going to use on that line. Like, keep rotating those guys, keep them fresh, keep them in and out. And I feel like with that, a lot less teams are just going to be able to double Kenny Clark like that. And that'll open up a lot more opportunities for himself and other players to get to the quarterback.
Rashawn Gary.
Yeah, Rashawn Gary. That's a good one. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, someone's getting there, right? I'm pretty sure Rashawn Gary.
Yeah.
Someone's got him.
It's
I'm
a
excited.
situation where you're not going to be able to double and triple team guys all game.
Yeah, so I just feel like he's gonna get in the backfield a lot more due to the players that are put around him, if that makes sense as far as progression.
Sure. All right, we're going to go back to Jake, and we're going to let Jake do his next progression candidate, Darnell Savage.
All right, my man. I love Darnell Savage. Originally, I liked him because I liked his last name. I'm not going to lie to you. But
he should have stuck with 21. He came out of the draft. He was going to wear number 21, and then he's like, nah, just kidding. I'm going to wear 26.
It was too close to Charles Woodson leaving the Packers. That's my opinion on that. That's my opinion on. Think about when people were mad when somebody, who the hell took Donald Driver's number at first, that weird white tight end, random white tight end we had. But people were just freaking pissed off. And it was just
it Perillo?
Yeah,
Justin Perillo, yeah.
It was
he had like one touchdown.
Yeah.
It was like an 80-yard touchdown.
It's a jersey. But relax, people. Okay, we can still remember Donald Driver. Relax.
Right.
But Darnell Savage, dude. I just think, in my opinion, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. We'll go Brian, Simon, Tyler. I want to get your opinion on this. I actually do. Who do you think is the most athletic player on defense? Give me your top three.
Most athletic on defense?
Yes.
Mine would be Rashawn Gary's probably the most athletic.
Mm-hmm.
I know
I maybe
Darnell
throw-
Savage is super athletic because his jump, and then I would probably throw in.
I'm going to say Eric Stokes because he's crazy fast.
I was going to throw Stokes in there.
Okay.
Quay Walker, I think, would be a good one.
Yeah.
He was really high on the RAS score. So
So the top three I came up with, and I combined size, strength, and range. That's what I consider athletic too, because you have to be smart to want to go. Right. So I put Jair. Jair's in my top three.
Yep.
The guy's got a crazy blend of strength for his size and speed. He cuts down plays and he cuts down coverage. When he's blown coverage, he cuts that down immediately. I have Quay Walker. The guy's massive and he runs fast. Okay, that's a good combination. I didn't even think about Rashawn. Okay, that was a good one. You called me out, you bastard. But I like Darnell Savage. I think Darnell Savage is one of the most athletic players on this defense. He's fast and he can jump. He's got some hops. So to me, I looked at two plays where I was like, if this guy's eyes catch up to his hands, meaning every time that he makes a play on the ball, when he gets a break of the ball, I'm like, he was a second late. He was just a second late. If his eyes catch up to his hands, this guy could really turn into a monster. He had two plays. One, the 2-point conversion stop last year against Baltimore. That was an absolute beast of a play. He wasn't even the man on the ball. He ripped that shit immediately and knocked that away before Stokes did. And secondly, he had a crazy diving stop against the Eagles in the 2020 season where he jumped probably 3.5 yards and knocked the ball looking like Superman in the air. So with those combinations, if he could take that next step where his eyes catch up to his hands and he could be that single high safety, allowing Adrian Amos to play more in the box and kind of mix it up with the running backs and the tight ends, free up our linebackers. Adrian Amos, by the way, has been the top-ranked safety in PFF the last 2 years. He has a 74 or better rating in run and pass for safeties. He's number one. So if we can allow Amos, the best safety according to PFF, to just roam the field and still take that next step, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this defense is going to be top three. I'm just going to say that right now.
The path is there.
Yes.
The path is there. The opportunity is there. The capability is there. It's going to come down to execution, just like I said about the Brewers on Wednesday. Capability, opportunity are there. This is going to come down to execution. The path for the Packers to be a top 3 defense is visible. It's just whether it's going to come together or not.
So I want to address something real quick. Oh, yeah, I was just going to address that. Go ahead. I'll let you do it.
Ahead. Okay, I'm going to say this. The weak link on this defense is that we let 5 we get freaking 7 yards off every goddamn wide receiver every once in a while. Yeah, that is the only weak link on this defense. Other than that, I'm gonna let
Savage is on
that
a
was
contract
exactly
year.
what I
When
was gonna
guys
say.
usually play well on contract years.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
pretty much exactly
if
what I
our
was
weak
gonna
link
say.
is Darnell Savage, I'm okay with that. Our weak link.
that's really the only one that you can target. I mean,
I'm okay with that.
yeah, I mean, you can try and target Dean Lowry all you want, but he's gonna have either Preston Smith or Rashawn Gary right behind him.
Yeah,
Sammy Watkins making a couple plays in practice.
Not a
So,
boy.
I just
throwing
want to
that
say
out there.
that Zach Tom's out there starting again at right tackle
Yeah.
for us with the number 1
There you
offense. So.
I like it.
All right, so I'm going to have more on Adrian Amos when we get going in a little bit, but Bryant is back up next with Eric Stokes' progression.
So Eric Stokes has me very excited. I shared a stat or something with you guys.
Yeah,
earlier.
you did. Give us a
Sammy
little
Watkins
tidbit.
just made a disgusting catch on Stokes, though.
Yeah. It was kind of a push off, though.
a little push
He
off.
pushed off a
Anyway,
little bit.
so I do think there's a possibility that he'll give up more receptions and more yards this year, and that's just because Alexander's going to be back on the field and he's going to be targeted more. With that being said, that means I think he's going to improve. He already had 14 pass defenses, which is pretty good. But I think he'll improve on that and the 1 interception. He's going to be around the ball more if he can just catch the damn thing. I know last year he had a couple that are like, oh,
Yeah.
man, come on, catch
So
the ball.
per PFF, he had 4 dropped interceptions last year.
Yeah. So if he can just improve on that, he's going to give him more chances. So I could see him putting up like 5 interceptions this year, right? The thing is that he had the lowest rate, which was 24% of open targets among all cornerbacks in the NFL last year. So that means when they're going to be targeted more, he's going to be around the ball and he's going to have a chance. So this is a big one, right? So for or as a rookie cornerback, he only gave up a 77 passer rating. So since 2015, there's only been 5 cornerbacks that have given up a passer rating of 80 or less as a rookie. So, and those cornerbacks are Marcus Peters, Jalen Ramsey, Marshawn Lattimore, Marlon Humphrey, and Tre'Davious White. And then it's Eric Stokes. That's pretty good company to be in. That's some elite style company. Eric Stokes
Those are
put
all
his
Pro
name
Bowlers.
in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you guys know? I didn't even know this either. Last year, there was he was a top 15 cornerback, or Eric Stokes was from week 12 on, and there was a month, at least a month stint that he went a month straight without giving up a reception of greater than 10 yards. So he didn't give up one completion greater than 10 yards. And this was covering, he went against OBJ, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, and Allen Robinson. Those are some of the number 1 corner or wide receivers he went against. And then in press coverage, and this is a big thing for me, and you can ask Simon, as long as we've been watching Packers football together, I'm always screaming, and you already mentioned it, why are they playing so far off the dang wide receiver on 3rd and 4? Why are they 8 yards off? I get you're fast and everything.
That's Kevin King's middle name.
Yeah, in press coverage, in press coverage, he only allowed he was like one of the best in press coverage and allowed a completion percentage of 43.8.
He's got the speed to do that.
Yeah, he can bump and run with them. So I think there's a chance he'll give up more yards and more receptions. But with that, I think you're going to see more passes defended. I think you're going to see more interceptions, and I'm really excited to see all this happen. So, sorry, I tripped up there. My daughter decided to come and try to show me her cartwheels. So, but
You're fine.
yeah. So, I'm really and one last thing, he's going to get to go against number 2 wide receivers this year. So,
yep. God damn it. That's what I'm going to say.
Sorry,
Jair's going to be in the field, so he's getting number 2 wide receivers now. So he was doing that against number 1s as a rookie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude! And I said 6
so it's going to be fun to watch.
interceptions when I picked him. So you're saying 5? I said 6. We're close.
Yeah.
He's gonna say I hate Simon and Bryant.
I love you.
All right, so this is the only other one that we have one person with a progress and one person with a regress on a player, and it's Alan Lazard. Simon has him as a progress candidate. I have him as a regress candidate. I will give a spoiler alert and admit that I am really nitpicky with the things that I am predicting regression on, but I'll get to that. I will let Simon go first and give his progression prediction for Alan Lazard.
All right. I mean, this one's pretty easy, right? Devontae Adams had 169 targets last year.
Nice.
That is a disgusting amount that has to be spread elsewhere. And I know this is what. Oh God, I hate you guys.
I can't help it, man.
You just the fact that you went from he's got 169, you're gonna have to spread that. I'm like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. So I know small sample size here, right? Games without Devontae Adams since 2018, not including games where he had only one snap on offense, which was versus the Lions in the end of 2018 in the game we got blown out where Rodgers got a concussion, and the Cowboys in 2019. Those are both games where he had one snap on offense, so I'm not counting those. So he played 4 games essentially. 18 receptions, 295 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So if we project that out to a season, 17-game season, 76 receptions, 1,253 yards, and 8 touchdowns. I'm not saying that I think the yardage will happen, but I could see a world where he gets 76 receptions and 8 touchdowns. I can see both of those. I think, like I've been saying in the offseason, I think it'll be hard pressed to get a 1,000-yard wide receiver, but I could be wrong too. Rodgers has been pumping up Lazard all offseason, and maybe that's due to just him being a good teammate, but he's also been in the system this is going into his 4th year, I think, or 5th year.
Fourth year.
Hard to go from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer, but
yeah, I know. So it's hard to believe that Lazard won't beat out, at least the yards and receptions from last year. I think he'll stick around the 8 touchdowns or so. He's a big body dude, 6'5", 210, 220 or something. I think he's going to get a lot of good red zone work. So he's going to come away with a decent amount of touchdowns as well. So that's why I have him as progression player this year.
Okay. So, yes, Andrew, this is an Allen Lazard jersey. I've been an Allen Lazard guy basically since his 2nd year in the league. You can ask Jake. I've been an Allen Lazard guy for a pretty long time. So I did say, I admitted it, that I'm really, really nitpicky on the stuff that I'm predicting regression on. The first thing that I'm predicting a regression on for Allen Lazard is his touchdown percentage. Last season, Allen Lazard had 40 receptions and 8 touchdowns. That is 1 out of every 5 receptions was a touchdown for him last year. That is 20% of his receptions were touchdowns. That's an insane number of percentage of receptions being touchdowns. So I do think there's a regression there. I do also think that his average depth of target is going to be a little bit lower. In 2021, his average depth of target was 10.9 yards. I think Allen Lazard is going to be used as more of a possession receiver this season, so I think he's going to be getting a lot of his receptions a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. He may be like a quick slant guy, or like Simon said, potentially a red zone threat. He could potentially be Aaron Rodgers' number 1 target. With that said, he's not going to be looking to Devontae Adams and then looking at Allen Lazard, which would allow Allen Lazard to get up a little bit farther upfield. I think Lazard's going to be a little bit closer to the line, and you're going to see his average depth of target a little bit lower. Now, this leads to my last thing that I'm predicting just a little bit of regression for with Allen Lazard is with his average depth of target being potentially lower, I do think his yards per reception will lower slightly. In 2021, his yards per reception was 12.8 yards. I think he'll probably be a little bit closer to about 11 yards per reception in 2022, even though I do think, like Simon said, he's going to have more yards, more receptions, and probably around the same touchdowns. So, like I said, really nitpicky stuff to go with his touchdown percentage, his average depth of target, and his yards per reception to be a little bit lower. Those are the things that I'm predicting regression. Not actually predicting for Allen Lazard to have a smaller role, because I think he's going to have a bigger role. And I don't think he's going to have worse statistics. I think he's going to have better statistics. But just looking at some of the nuanced things in here with with the way that his role is going to change. So yeah, my regression prediction is based more on specific things, not a regression in skill. I don't think he's going to be a worse player. I think he's going to be a better player, but I think he's going to be playing a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. And I don't think that if Alan Lazard would have had 100 receptions last year with the same touchdown percentage, he would have scored 20 touchdowns last year.
I'm for it. Bring it on.
I mean, if Alan Lazard gets 100 receptions this season with the same touchdown rate, he's going to score 20 touchdowns. That's an insane touchdown rate to have 8 touchdowns on 40 receptions. That's crazy. So that's why I think that. And then, like I said, just being a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage is the other thing that I think he's going to regress on his average depth of target and yards per catch. So I will kick it to Jake for his next regression on Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb. That's who you want me next? Okay. Randall Cobb. So I feel like I got nitpicky with this one too. The main reason that I picked Randall Cobb as my regression is strictly because of his age and his injury history. The guy is just getting up there in age. He's been in the league for a long time now, since 2011, and he gets hurt all the time. I mean, look at the Rams game. He was absolutely owning that first half of that game. Had a couple of long catches, had a touchdown in that first half, had 95 yards, and then he didn't play the entire second half. So it's like he just goes away. He always ends up with a calf strain or a tight hamstring or his ribs hurt or something always happens on Cobb. So for that reason, and I hope that doesn't happen because actually I still think that he has the skill to be a productive player in the NFL. And Rodgers likes him.
He's what, 31, 32? I don't think he's 32 yet. I think he's 31. So it's not like he's over the hill or anything like that. Julio Jones just got a fucking contract. So
I mean, just because of his injuries, he's like a small Julio Jones at this point with all the injuries and age. But I think he's going to take a step back. I think the Packers are going to run a little bit more 12 personnel, 21 personnel this year. 12 personnel is 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. I see a lot of 2 tight ends early in the year with the banged up offensive line to help with the blocking, and 21 personnel is wide receiver and 1 tight end. So if you put only 2 wide receivers on the field, it's probably not going to be Randall Cobb. It's probably going to be Lazard and Sammy Watkins and Romeo Doubs. I mean, take your pick. Lazard's going to be on the field a lot for the wide receivers, in my opinion. So with him not playing as much, not getting higher snaps, and always being injury prone, plus I think that Robert Tonyan, when he comes back, he's going to be taking a lot of snaps, and I really want to see him in the slot. I think he could really succeed there. Whenever I think about Tonyan in the slot, I think about that play against the Lions in week 2, where he ran right up the seam, and he had the smallest hole possible, and Rodgers just like, fuck it, threw it right in there, and I'm like, you know what, the quarterback in the league is making that goddamn throw. But for those reasons, I think Randall Cobb will take a little bit step back.
All righty, next one is Simon looking at Mercedes Lewis.
I mean, like a lot of us had said before, it's hard to choose someone to regress on offense, but I feel bad for this one, but I just think this is Lewis's last year. I mean, he's been this is his 17th NFL season or 18th. I believe he's 17th.
In the same draft as Rodgers, I believe, so it would be his 18th.
18th? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 18th NFL season, playing in a position that does not ever make it that far. I think this actually breaks the record for most seasons played by an NFL.
I was going to say, like, Antonio Gates and, like, Tony Gonzalez are the only ones that I can think of that would even be close.
He was the year after Rodgers, so this will be his 17th season.
So, okay, I was right. The 17th, yes. Okay. So I mean, he's definitely, his age is showing a little bit. He's not very quick. I mean, he's still a hell of a blocker, and I feel like that's just going to be his primary role, especially with some of the up and coming young tight ends that we got. I think
I like Tyler Davis.
I was gonna get to it. Damn.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like Tyler alluded to, I think Tyler Davis has a shot to make this team. DeGuara is going into his 3rd year. They really like Dominique Daphne still, and then we got Robert Tonyan coming in on this year. I feel like they're gonna want to get those guys more experience, and I mean, it's nothing against Lewis. He's been tremendous for the Packers. I feel like they're just going to use him as a blocker early, and You're not going to see much from him in the passing game, much more than we've seen the last couple of years.
So I pulled it up.
Pretty much it.
I pulled it up. So Mercedes Lewis has 234 career games played. Pete Metzelaars has 235. Antonio Gates has 236. So if he plays 3 games, he's going to move into third all-time in tight end games played. Tony Gonzalez has 270, and Jason Witten has 271.
Oh.
So he's not going to catch either of those two unless he plays all of this season, all of next season, and then half of the following.
Yeah.
So he needs to play 3 games, and then he's going to be third all-time in tight end games played.
Noted.
Good spot to be.
All right. So next one, we're going to go to Bryant for Dean Lowry.
Okay, so for Dean Lowry, I love the fact that you guys are all pumping him up, right?
Yeah, we're going to mute you now.
Yeah,
People can read the subtitles.
Last year he had I think Jake's talking again.
I didn't say a word. You know.
So last year he had 5 sacks and 42 pressures, so he did have really good numbers. But for me, it's just I think he's gonna for sure lose snaps. First off, I'm gonna start out. I think he's a trade/cut candidate, and I said that like a month ago, and I still think he is possibly, and I'll tell you why. So I think he's gonna lose snaps because they're gonna want to get Wyatt on the field eventually, and Jaron Reed as well. And Kenny Clark isn't going to be sitting up in the middle anymore. They're going to be moving him on each side of the line. So I think they're going to move him around a lot. Like Simon mentioned, TJ Slayton's already shown improvement. And I haven't heard too much about this Ford dude, but he's a massive body that they might want on the field during rundowns. And it sounds like he's gotten into the backfield a few times here in preseason. So that's another kind of sneaky player who could watch during preseason. But so I think he'll lose snaps when they try to get Wyatt, Jaron Reed, and Clark on the field. Jaron Reed's a more accomplished pass rusher than Dean Lowry, so he might lose some of those third down snaps, which would cause him not to get those sack numbers. And then for the reason why I think he's a trade or cut candidate, right? So right now, Dean Lowry has the 5th largest cap hit on the entire team. He's not our 5th best player. I know that doesn't always gel, but he's the 5th largest cap hit. The Packers had a chance to move some of his money around and restructure him this year. They didn't. They didn't touch him, right? So that tells me they didn't want to push anything else out further into the future with him. If they cut him now that it's post June 1st, they save $5.9 million. I'm not saying that Lowry's a bad player. I'm saying that there's some players that we need to pay that we can't afford to lose, like Elton Jenkins and
Rashawn Gary
right off the top of the head. So I think that with the fact that if we cut him, we take like a 2-point-something million cap hit, but we save 5.9. Cut our trade. I think you got to look to trade him first, and maybe this is a good time to trade him now because he is coming off a career year. So I don't want to start speculation, but what if Seattle is like, hey, we need someone next to our really weird name dude that's kind of good. I can't remember his name. He has a really unique name. What if Seattle called and said, give us a second Lowry for Lockett? You pass that up? Like, there's still a lot to go on in this preseason because you never know if the injuries or anything. So if we lose someone, for sure. And I don't think it's bad if we keep Dean Lowry on. He played decent against the run. So if we do keep him on, and the other thing is he's listed as defensive end. All the other players I talked about are defensive tackles. But the thing is, they're all going to be playing all over the line. So I do think that with the money that could be saved, it's possible that he gets cut. I do think he's a cut trade candidate.
I don't think he's a cut candidate just because I don't think they've seen enough from Slayton, and obviously Wyatt is a rookie. And I do think Jaron Reed, while he will take snaps at defensive end, is going to play the primary backup for Kenny Clark. I do think it's possible that they carry an extra defensive lineman than they have in seasons past to keep all of those guys fresh, to really maximize the potential of a 3-4 and being able to still have those 3 generate some sort of pass rush. So I do think that he's going to stick around. No, I wouldn't say no to your trade of Tyler Lockett for Lowry in a second, depending on what happens with the wide receivers. So I think, any sort of situation or decision like that isn't going to come around until probably week 3, 4, 5 at the earliest.
Yeah, and it's not that I want to see Dean Lowry get cut or anything or traded. He did play well for us last year. I'm starting to think like they need some money. The Jair extension freed up some money. So I think we're at 15 million cap space right now, but next year we're at negative.
I think last I saw was 17, but
last I saw was
they
17
could
as
front
well.
load. They could front load a contract extension for Elton Jenkins or Rashawn Gary and move some of that money into this year.
Yeah, I have a feeling that last few years, especially like the Bakhtiari and Devontae Adams, you always see like the last like spring or preseason training camp practice and something that someone gets signed. So I think we could see something this year. But we'll see what happens with Dean Lowry. I'm fine with having him on our team because he's a good piece to have. He did produce really well last year. He knocked down a lot of balls. It was the first time in like a long time we had 3 people with over 40 plus pressures, and he had 42. So it's not that I want to see him go. I even if he plays the full year, I don't see him reaching 5 sacks because he's just not. I don't think he'll be on the field as much on third down, and I think he'll lose some snaps because we just spent our first round pick on Wyatt, and we brought in Jaron Reed, so they're going to see the field too. So
well, I think regression in his statistics is certainly possible. In addition to his role, but I think he's still going to be just as important because, like I said, I think they're going to try to keep those guys as fresh as possible to basically just to continue to be able to control the line in a 3-on-5 situation as far as the defensive line is concerned. All right, so from there, all right, next is me. So I challenged myself and I picked two guys that I'm actually like really big fans of on both sides of the ball for my regression candidates. And similar with Adrian Amos, I got pretty nitpicky on the things that I'm predicting some regression on. So with Adrian Amos, Jake kind of mentioned with Darnell Savage as a potential progress candidate, and then being able to trust Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes and Rasool Douglas, that I think they can actually let Adrian Amos creep up more towards the line of scrimmage and play kind of a hybrid linebacker safety role. So we know Adrian Amos is capable of this. He can lay the thump sometimes, and we had it a lot of times in 2020, thankfully not in 2021 so much, but a lot of times in 2020 where Adrian Amos was the leading tackler. So I hated seeing that when a defensive back was a leading tackler on the team. I hated seeing that when Jair or Amos were the leading tacklers. That being said, Adrian Amos had a career-high 93 tackles in 2021. I think with an improved defensive line, more sure tackling, middle linebacker in Quay Walker, even more than Chris Barnes, Adrian Amos could be a guy that moves up and guards a lot of tight ends, something that the Packers really struggled with Mark Andrews and the George Kittles. They're going to be playing TJ Hawkinson twice a year. The Vikings are pretty high on Irv Smith Jr. if he ever realizes his potential. So that's what I'm looking at with Adrian Amos, is potentially having him be the guy that guards tight ends, because he would be a guy that I would trust in that type of role. The other thing that I'm looking at with him is if he can play that linebacker safety hybrid role. I think his 8 passes defensed that he had in 2021 will be lower in 2022. So those two super specific things, being passes defensed and tackles, I think are the only 2 areas that I see potential regression in Adrian Amos. But like I said with Alan Lazard, I think it's more in statistics and role than it is in actual skill. So I do think Adrian Amos is still a very skilled player. And like I said, he's one of the guys that I would trust. He'd be at the top of the list of guys that I would trust to be guarding opposing tight ends, especially pass-catching tight ends like Mark Andrews, for example. But that's what I would say with Adrian Amos.
I'm with it.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
makes sense.
All right. Nobody questioned me. That's what I like to hear.
I'm trying not to get fired over here.
Yeah.
I don't know how you treat us in the back chat.
Yeah. Replace you with somebody better looking. All right. So we're going to go back to Simon, who is going to talk about Rasool Douglas.
Yeah. I don't know. This was kind of tough too, because I could also see a world where just based off of the contract and him feeling like he earned, finally realized his potential and stuff, I could see a world where this doesn't happen. But obviously, Rasool Douglas signed a contract with us last year after coming off the Cardinals practice squad. And in 12 games, he had 57 total tackles, 5 interceptions, and returned 2 of them for touchdowns. I just think it'd be really hard for him to repeat both of those. And he also only allowed a 43.3 passer rating. Like, that is disgustingly low.
Yeah, it is.
So it should, for me, I think it'd be difficult for him to repeat that or get better. I'm all for it if it happens. Like, please bring it on, and I hope he proves me wrong. But it's just a little much for a guy to repeat or be better on all those.
Like, he's also going to be the third corner, not the second corner.
That's my other thing too.
Yeah.
It'll be really, it'll be really interesting to see how the defense employs these cornerbacks, though, because I could also see Alexander playing a lot of that slot corner, depending on matchups and stuff.
It sounded like they're moving all the corners around, basically, like they're doing with every other position. They're trying to increase the positional versatility. That's actually something that I talked about when we did our first Packers show together about storylines that we're watching. And for me, it was year 2 of Joe Barry's defense, because Joe Barry talked a lot about positional versatility. So that's just something that they're doing. Basically, it seems like with every single position group, is trying to have it so that every single player on the roster can play more than one position because they love that versatility so much.
I was going to bring that up. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
It does sound like Rasool's it's been a lot more exclusively in the slot in training camp, but I do wonder if they play a team that has someone more shifty and quick in there, or if the Vikings start throwing JJ or someone in there, they might shift. That's where they would shift, I think, Alexander in there more. So it'd be really interesting to see how they do it. But I know they like Rasool Douglas in the slot because he's bigger. He can help with that run game a lot more. So maybe he won't have as many interceptions, but I wouldn't be surprised if he adds a couple forced fumbles into the mix. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be interesting to watch him for sure.
So the problem with what you said too, though, is I was looking at it earlier. I think, he had 7 missed tackles last year. So also, I just believe it'll be super matchup dependent as well. Like,
I agree with you there.
I think they're gonna play a lot of matchups, and going off what Tyler said too. They've been rotating a lot of the guys that you would assume would be backups in with the ones on practice. Because I know they've been playing Shamar Jean-Charles in the slot a lot too. I think he's exclusively a slot corner, like
he's
someone said
guy.
Earlier. Because I think he's only like 5'10".
He's 5'10", and he's thin too.
Yeah, and he's small. So but getting him in with the ones and stuff too, I think that's just another option that they could throw out there in certain matchups and stuff.
So Greg put this comment in here. I think it's really relevant. He said, Douglas is a good ball hawk. We have 2 good cover corners in Alexander and Stokes. You got to have that risk taker for turnovers. That is 100% accurate. Aaron Rodgers actually talked about it when he's talking with Rasool Douglas. The 2 of them have actually spent a lot of time together, bouncing ideas off of each other and talking about what they see from each other's perspectives. And Rasool Douglas talked about it. He's like, I try to bait Aaron Rodgers into those throws. He's like, it doesn't work very often, but I got to try. So Rasool Douglas is that Charles Woodson style cornerback. Aaron Rodgers said it, and it kind of rings true that Rasool Douglas does play that style. And he did have, that one magical season, whereas Charles Woodson did it over his entire career. But Charles Woodson was that guy that would try to bait you into those bad throws and take advantage of them. And with Jared Goff's I wouldn't call Jared Goff turnover prone. I would call Justin Fields very turnover prone. And as average of a quarterback as I think Kirk Cousins is, he has gotten better at having a better touchdown to interception ratio. Kirk Cousins hasn't turned the ball over a ton. He's usually in like the middle teens as far as interceptions are concerned. So, I do think
turn the ball when you go into the guard, not the center.
Yeah, then that forced fumble goes to the offensive lineman. So, if there's a Bears game, that might be a time where you're looking for a Rasool Douglas interception. But, I think the opportunity is there, but I do agree with you, Simon. So we're going to go to Jake.
Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
I just had one last thing, not to get too far off the regression thing, but one thing that I will credit Rasool Douglas is I was watching an interview with him or reading, I can't remember which, and he said one thing that's changed from him in his early time with Philly and being on the practice squad with Carolina and Cardinals is he's like a master at watching film now. Like he actually takes it seriously, where before he said he would just like watch the same plays over and over again and like fall asleep and stuff. So you credit him reviving his career on his own and realizing that he wants to stick around Green Bay. He's gonna have to put in the work.
Yeah, I remember
he said he'll stay during in season. He'll stay at the facility till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night watching film.
I was just gonna say we posted on the Wisco Fanatics page last year actually that Rasool Douglas, like Joe Barry would call him a gym rat, just because he'd be walking out of the building at like 9 o'clock and Rasool Douglas was still there watching film. So that is totally accurate that he's been doing that more and more and more. Jake's got an interesting one for regression because he went with a rookie, but I like Jake's reasoning for this, so I'm going to go ahead and let Jake explain his Devontae Wyatt pick.
Okay. Hope you guys are ready for this. Don't kill me. I'm excited.
I won't be able to hear it anyways.
I will.
Just read the subtitles.
So, I do think you guys hear all my swear words. That's what it is. He's a monster of a man. He's a big boy. We always a big body in there. He can defend against the run and he can rush the passer. You look at his stats in college. He had 7 tackles for a loss and 2.5 sacks. So as a defensive lineman and you're in a rotation, as a big guy that's known as a run stuffer, have 2.5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. It's a big deal, especially on that defense, because that defense at Georgia was absolutely loaded. So to me, I think he's just going to be known as the second best rookie from Georgia on the Packers defense. That is partially the reason I think that he will be a regression for me. So for me, I took down the snap percentage of all the defensive linemen last year. Kenny Clark was 72%. This is the reason that Bryant's guy is not getting traded, because Dean Lowry was 62% snap percentage. They're not trading that away. Sorry. They're not going to give all 62% to TJ Slayton and a rookie. It's not happening. They got Jaron Reed, who has 64% snap percentage with the Seahawks. He will take some of that. And Slayton was at 23%. And this is for the Viking fans that said Zadarius Smith was the best player in our defense. Our defense was pretty good last year. Zadarius Smith only had 1% snap percentage last year. So you guys can enjoy that 1% snap percentage. So the thing that I do like about Wyatt is his potential in the 4-man front that I've been hearing about that they've been running in practice. I think he could be a great defensive tackle in the 4-man front. I just think that he will be the first guy off the bench for the 3-man front, because Reed, they're going to keep Kenny in there as much as possible, and they like Lowry in there. Lowry understands the defense, and obviously he puts up productive numbers. So to me, Devontae Wyatt is getting the leftovers. I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but he still will be pretty good.
So basically what Jake is getting at here is to temper your expectations.
Yeah.
With Devontae Wyatt. All right, well, I got the last one. It's a guy that has been talked about so much, and I know rival fans like to call him fat and out of shape when he's actually just like really big, huge dude, super
like
athletic dude.
Body fat.
Exactly, he's just a massive dude. So nobody, you put a 6-pack on that, and he's getting pushed around. But I guarantee you, he is stronger than any single person that's typing on a keyboard about him.
Don't get me started about that.
All right. So Jake and Bryant have both done a good job explaining how they view him. Matt LaFleur has talked about him being the leader of the defense, being a trendsetter on the defense. He was the leader of the defense in 2021 when Zadarius Smith went down. He's going to be the leader of the defense for the next 8 years. So there's a few areas I think Rashawn Gary has the opportunity to progress in. First, and the easy one, is sacks. So he had 9.5 sacks in 2021. With playmakers all over this defense, you're not going to be able to just key on Rashawn Gary and let Kenny Clark and Devondre Campbell and Preston Smith and Quay Walker just tear you apart. I mean, you could, and Packers fans will enjoy it on the way to letting you only score 13 points a game. But
I'm fine with that.
I mean, Rashawn Gary is going to face one-on-ones, and every time you see him go one-on-one, he wins like every single time. It feels like. I know that's not an accurate statement, but it seems like every time Rashawn Gary ends up in a one-on-one situation, his combination of speed and strength it's fun to watch. So that couple questionable O-lines in the NFC North. The Lions have a very good offensive line, but the Bears and the Vikings have questionable offensive lines. They both have opportunity to improve, but the Vikings are returning 4 out of 5 starters, and the main addition that the Chicago Bears made to offensive line was Lucas Patrick. So
they also signed Raleigh Reef too.
Okay, so I mean,
Ooh.
2 out of 5.
I mean, it was he's gonna end up starting for them.
Oh, so sacks is one. Tackles is another area I think he could progress in. He had 43 tackles in 2021. Jake and I actually talked about this last season, that he improved week by week on his run defense. So I do think Rashawn Gary is going to take that next step in identifying run plays, and I think that's going to lead to an increase in tackles for Rashawn Gary. And then the last one that I have is forced fumbles. So this is, forced fumbles is a really random thing to predict. But I do think just with him being the guy, and he played 68% of snaps last year. I mean, he'll probably be around that, maybe even a little bit more. I know he just needed a 1% increase. Just a 1%. But without having Zadarius Smith or Whitney Merciless to back them up, there's some question marks at backup outside linebacker. With that being the case, what do? You put your best player on the field a little bit more. So I do think the opportunity exists for Rashawn Gary to play more than 68% of the snaps. And then with that rise in opportunity is the rise in plays, which would lead to a rise in potentially forced fumbles, sacks, and tackles.
So I'm going to start a petition that he should wear that arm brace because it looks cool. That's just simply the only reason, because it looks cool.
I'm super excited for him. It sounds like he's been, like Matt LaFleur said the other day, he's just wrecking practice. So he wrecks the offense. So it's just like
yeah.
You guys ever read Herman's tweets?
I was just gonna talk about Andy Herman.
Dude, he was like, Rashawn Gary raced to the line, would have been a sack on Rodgers. Rashawn Gary would have had a sack on Rodgers. Would have had a sack on Rodgers. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy's gonna have.
I would say, like, I've seen a bunch of times where it's like Rashawn Gary stands up Aaron Jones, like,
he was just beating everyone in the one-on-one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, so before we're done, I just want to throw out some things with the wide receivers. I posed this as a possibility last Wednesday when Simon and Brian joined us to talk about some of the news that was coming out. But listening to Matt LaFleur keep saying that the wide receiver room is fluid, he keeps describing it as fluid. I posed the possibility of the Packers going with a hot hand approach at wide receiver. Just whoever is playing well that day, you're going to keep giving them the opportunities, keep giving them, the workload, and just feed the hot hand. So between the fluid comment and the best chance to win comment, that really just makes me think that it's an opportunity where the Packers have wide receiver one numbers week to week, but not a wide receiver one season overall. So I do think, there's chances where you could see Sammy Watkins have 8 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown, or have Alan Lazard have 9 receptions for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think those opportunities are there for big weeks like that. And then over a season to have very wide receiver 2 looking numbers. That's part of the reason why I brought up 2012 in that because James Jones did score 14 touchdowns that year. But he only had, I think, 64 receptions and 14 touchdowns. So, the opportunity is there for wide receiver 1 weeks, but not an entire season of it. So I looked at wide receivers drafted in the 2nd round, wide receivers drafted in the 4th round, and then I looked at Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Sammy Watkins' career numbers, and I averaged all of those things to what I think is actually a pretty reasonable expectation for the wide receivers. Matt, yes, Romeo Doubs is a future Hall of Famer. If you want to hop on the hype train, we do have that. So you can totally hop on that hype train with us.
You too, man.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So looking at, I know already that I'm going to get some people saying, well, those guys aren't 2nd round talents, but listen, these are 2nd round wide receivers drafted in the last 5 years. 2021, Elijah Moore and Rondale Moore. 2020, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Laviska Shenault. 2019, Deebo Samuel and A.J. Brown. 2018, Cortland Sutton and Christian Kirk. 2017, Curtis Samuel and Juju Smith-Schuster. Looking at all of those guys, their averages, it's certainly within the realm of possibility that Christian Watson could have a season like those guys have had. And while those guys have all progressed into like wide receiver 1s, especially like T. Higgins, who is now wide receiver 2 on his team, but he has wide receiver 1 capability. Michael Pittman is going to be the lead wide receiver on the Colts. Deebo Samuel, obviously, is Deebo Samuel. Cortland Sutton is a very good wide receiver. Elijah Moore will be very good for the Jets this year. These guys have all had good rookie seasons. Elijah Moore last year, 43 receptions, 538 yards, 5 touchdowns in 11 games.
I'd take that.
Rondale Moore had 54 receptions for 435 yards and a touchdown in 14 games. T. Higgins, his rookie year, 67 receptions, 908 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I mean, you can go down the list of all these guys. Juju Smith-Schuster, 58 receptions, 917 yards, and 7 touchdowns. These are all their rookie seasons. So the opportunity is certainly there. Looking at 4th-round wide receivers in the last 4 years, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gabriel Davis, Kiki Kuti, and Dede Westbrook. Looking at those guys' rookie seasons, Dede Westbrook only played 7 games. Kiki only played 6, but Gabriel Davis, his 16 games in his rookie season, 35 receptions, 599 yards, 7 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
He's a good wide receiver.
Yeah.
Is this his 2nd or 3rd year?
This will be his
2nd year, right? Third year.
This will be his 3rd year.
Yeah,
He's going into. He was drafted in 2020. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he was forced into a much more desperate situation in Detroit, but last year, 90 receptions, 912 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
Nice.
Now, you might say that, Romeo Doubs isn't going to be those guys, but those guys were drafted in the 4th round. Romeo Doubs was drafted in the 4th round. So coming out of college, they're all at the same talent level because if they weren't, they would have been drafted earlier. So they're 4th round talents because they were drafted in the 4th round. And the Romeo Doubs hype train carries on. And then we have the 3 veterans. So we're looking at Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins, averaging out their careers. Lazard's is a little bit smaller, but the averages of his 3 seasons, 66 targets, 44 receptions, 597 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That's his average, including a year where he did not play very much. Sammy Watkins has been in the league for 8 years. For average for him, 59.5 receptions, 869 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And Randall Cobb, 11 years. His average is 71 receptions, 859 yards, and 7 touchdowns. There's so much opportunity here for a bunch of guys to have wide receiver 2 seasons, have some wide receiver 1 weeks, but for Aaron Rodgers to still progress. That's why I think this is possible. That's why I think that there's opportunity here for the Packers to still have a very good offense, because it's been done in the NFL. The guys on this team have done it. The veterans on this team have done it. The rookies that are drafted where they were drafted have done it in the NFL. So I certainly think that there's an opportunity for this mix of rookies and veterans to have a good offense, have a good wide receiver core. It's just right now we haven't seen it in the regular season yet, so there's question marks there. But I think the opportunity is there.
No, I agree. I know tonight, again, they had a kind of a rough night, and I know Matt LaFleur came out and said hopefully that's a double-edged sword, and that's just because their defense is really good. But that's good, like you said, iron sharpens iron. The fact that they're getting a practice against this top, I think we're all in agreement, easily a top 10 defense, should easily be a top 10 defense this year. It's just going to make them better. And like I said, it might start out slow until they get into the groove of things or lean on the running game more, but I'm pretty excited. I do think that, and like I said, even with his regression I gave him, I still put him at 4,100, like 35 touchdowns and then 7 interceptions, which is still a great year for any other quarterback in the league. So I'm pretty excited. I think hopefully we can get Watson on the field here soon so he can start maybe that will help the offense in the training camp and on these preseason games that have someone that will really take the top off and make that safety, they won't be able to cheat up as much. So I'm pretty excited about it all. We'll see how it goes. I know we don't want to see the starters in preseason too much, but I wouldn't hate if they got a drive or two. So we'll see what happens.
I was saying, we posted the video of Aaron Rodgers and Christian Watson talking, so it's not like Christian Watson is just not around the team.
He's there learning, So.
Right. So he's still locker the other day too. He's still getting, the mental reps with Aaron Rodgers and learning Aaron Rodgers' expectations and what he's looking at, what he's looking for. So it's not like Christian Watson isn't involved in any capacity. He's just not there physically. So that's, playing with Aaron Rodgers is a cerebral thing to be doing. So getting those mental reps is still important.
Yeah, and another note from practice, it doesn't sound like Darnell Savage's injury was very serious. He said it was just He didn't feel a pop or anything. It was a slight pull, and he thinks he'll be back at practice pretty soon. And they were actually going to do a 4-minute drill with live tackling, but LaFleur ended the practice 20 minutes early because there was another couple hamstring injuries or something. I don't know of who, but so they were going to do some live tackling tonight, but he pulled back.
All right.
Injuries and hamstring injuries. Name a better duo. Name a better fucking duo. I swear.
All right. Does anybody have anything else they want to throw out there?
Aren't we doing a quick fire?
The GM
yeah.
Good, because I did a lot of goddamn research, you bastard.
Yeah.
This is only going to be a quick thing. This is going to be a quick hit.
I know, but I have a good reason why I picked my guy. Good reason. I'll go last.
Okay, Jake, you go first. No, you go first. You baited us all into this.
Let me go first so I can take his person. I'm just kidding.
So, Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel of the Green Bay Packers. His name is Ed Policy. He's only 51 years old, so he could fill the role for quite a long time. And he joined the Packers in 2012. Listen to this guy's freaking resume, dude. It's freaking crazy. He has professional experience, including 9 years in executive leadership roles with Arena Football League, including commissioner, president, and CEO, and a year as an executive consultant with the NFL. 3-time recipient of the Sports Business Journal 40 Under 40 Award in recognition for his achievements in sports business. This guy knows how to run shit, man. So I would not mind him being the Packers owner, CEO, whatever the hell you want to call it, for the foreseeable future. I just think this would be a good decision. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that was my person too. Ed Policy.
Brian, that was your guy.
You're a bastard.
And that's right. So, you want to see my notes? I got them right there. It's the same things, right? His Arena League stuff. And then the thing was that he's 50. So when Mark Murphy retires, Ed Policy will be 54. Mark Murphy will have served in the role for 17 years. This will mean that Ed Policy can serve in that role for 16 years. Originally, I was like, oh, maybe Russ Ball or something, because we all love Russ Ball. He's going to be 65 already. They're not going to put him in there for 5 years. Nope. So his 40 under 40. And the big thing is that one of the huge things Mark Murphy is working on, right, is title count, all that stuff. And he lets the GM, Brian Gutekunst, handle all the players things. So they're definitely looking for someone that's on the business side of things. And the fact that he does have that, he was a commissioner in the Arena Football League and a president and COO, or the coup or whatever you want to call it. I think he's pretty much been hired. He was hired by Mark Murphy, and I feel like he's pretty much he's been groomed essentially to take over his role once he retires. Now, I think he's probably the only one that's currently in the organization that would take over the role. It is possible, like they did with Mark Murphy, to hire outside. So
All right, Simon, who were you thinking?
I didn't go that far into depth. I thought
I didn't either.
Yeah, I thought an interesting candidate could be Elliot Wolf. Outside of Russ Ball, I think Russ Ball obviously is just a genius. He always finds a way to make.
He's the GOAT.
Work.
Russ Ball is the GOAT.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. But I thought an interesting candidate could be Elliot Wolf too.
Okay,
that's a good one.
My knee-jerk thought was to maybe go with Brian Gutekunst. He's been obviously with the team, running the team, so maybe you just promote him the next step, and you could groom.
And then Aaron Rodgers could be GM for real.
Dude, I mean, why not?
What do you guys think about Romeo Dobbs
as GM? I think he'd do good.
What do you think of Romeo Dobbs?
No, he's going to be an all-pro wide receiver in the next 3 years.
Well, he can do both.
Yeah.
All right, fine. That's gonna be a train with a lot of cars attached to it. That hype train. But I do think you could potentially move Russ Ball into the GM role instead of into the president role.
Yeah.
So you move Gutekunst up, and then you could move Russ Ball into the GM role. And yeah, Matt, that's how they did it back in the day. You were a player, you were a front office, you were a coach, and the GM. So you can do all of them. He'll just be in the facility year round.
Oh my God, Romeo Dobbs hype.
Hype train's getting big.
Yeah.
They're going to be shoveling coal for the rest of the season on the Romeo Dobbs hype train.
Yeah. Steam engine.
Yep. All right. So, we will see you guys again on August 26th after the preseason is over. And we're going to be doing record predictions, some stat projections, and probably some more stuff with that show. So look forward to seeing you guys again in a few weeks.
Yes, sir. Hey,
all right, Tim, you have a good weekend too.
Hey, Tim's our A1 day one, boys. Don't ever be mean to Tim. He's our A1 day one. That's our guy.
All right, take care, guys.
Take care.
All right,